Believe it or not, we're on our last speaker now. It's funny, 18 speakers sounds like a lot, but when you boil it down to a few minutes, to a few ideas, it really goes by quickly. If you save your programs and review them later, I always find that you really remember the presentations because they focus on a few key ideas. And it's, yeah, for whatever reason, it's a great format. And kind of a little bit sad that we're in our last speaker, but Chris Carmen is the, I don't know if he's the best yet or not because he hasn't spoken, but he will be talking to us about one of the most anticipated and exciting renovations that happened in Gravenhurst in recent memory. I don't know where to start in introducing Chris. He has one heck of a sense of humor, and if you get a chance to speak to him after the show, you'll realize how engaging he can be. So Chris has been involved in construction since he was old enough to hand his mother her paintbrush. He really took a shine to it in high school and took up a part-time job building houses with a local builder. He built his first home with his dad when he was 18, and since then he's built 6 homes, 10 duplexes, renovated over 30 houses, and is here to talk today about renovating the historic Rosehurst Manor. Chris Carmen, Restoring Rosehurst.
Thank you, Jeremy. Very excited to be here to talk to you guys tonight. And as such, I've been told that since I'm Irish as luck, if my voice pattern gets a little quick or get a little animated, Jeremy's just going to poke me with the stick, calm me down a little. I met Jeremy 3 or 4 years ago, back in 2013, 5 years ago now, 2013, because I walked into the township office, or the town of Gravenhurst office, to ask about why this derelict building has been for sale for 5 years and why it's full of water and asbestos and raccoon poop, and what can we do with it, because the company I was working with had an interest in doing something. And Jeremy gave me he was a town planner at the time. He gave me a really good story about how if I wanted to change the zoning, I'd have to this, that, the other, and I wouldn't get any parking permits, and I couldn't make any use of the building other than to restore it to a historical home. And when he said the word historical, I thought, maybe there's something to this. And little did I know, Jeremy actually sat on the Heritage Committee at the time. So we switched hats, we went into the back room, and I said, what does the town really want done with this? And he said, it's one of our oldest buildings. It was built by our mayor in 1884. As far as other historical buildings that he's built, you guys are sitting in right now. And Jeremy says, we don't want to see it torn down. We don't want to see it leveled. We know there's 3 lots here. We want to see somebody restore this and do something viable with it. So I took it back to the team, and we said, what does Gravenhurst need? It kind of needs housing. And long story short, we were able to renovate it and turn it into a beautiful 9-plex that you can see over on the corner of Bay and Mary. Starting a renovation of this size was new for me. I built duplexes before, like Jeremy's. Built single-family homes, and I renovated probably more than 30 various little projects. And it wasn't until we took out a demolition permit to do a little exploratory work that I really knew what we were getting into. I'd never worked with lath and plaster before. Fortunately, the bank who owned it at the time had taken care of all the asbestos because of some craftiness that Jeremy helped me on. But when you have all that cast iron plumbing and, like I say, lath and plaster and weird blown-in insulation and studs that don't fit new studs, we really didn't know where to start. So my first thought was I'm going to hire 2 apprentices, strap them all up in hazmat gear, tape their boots to their socks to their pants, and just throw them in the room with goggles and see what happens. And this building was run down. They slammed the door behind them for us to lock them in, and the ceiling collapsed. It was at the end of its useful life. We got finished with the demo permit. We were able to kind of expose the building. It had good bones, but it had nothing else. We spent 200 bundles of shingles on the roof. We had to replace all the windows, all the signage to get it airtight and habitable at the time. But after that, we were kind of good to start going with new construction. We were able to add some things in that let us, make it nice. Hardwood floors and new kitchens, granite countertops. Probably the permitting part was the trickiest because swinging a hammer doesn't change from township to township. But I found great help with the town of Gravenhurst, the Heritage Committee, the council. There's nothing that gets a council moving like taking out a demolition permit on a heritage building. We got great response, and we were able to get some things passed that let us move forward with the development fees and make it a real possibility. Really glad we took out some of the slides that just showed us drinking on the job in the afternoons. I want to tell you just a little bit about the building before I became involved with it. Before I got it, or before my company got it, it was owned by a family of raccoons. Before they got it, it was owned by a Remax agent who must have put 30 miles of telephone cable and internet cable in there before Wi-Fi came along. Before that, it was called the Garner Lodge, but it was owned by a different family who used it for kind of long-term housing. And then, of course, the Garners owned it for years and years. And then the Mickles owned it before that, or the family of the Mickles. And I alluded earlier that it was built by Charles and Emma Mickle. Charles was president and co-owner of the Mickle Diamond Lumber Company, and he's actually mostly responsible for Gravenhurst getting its name or nickname as the Sawdust City. And there's a strange feeling building this one. I built in old homes before, and when the Gravenhurst Haunted Tour, when they did the walk by and they started telling us ghost stories about the building we were working in, and they said, "Oh, do you have any? Do you see anything spooky at night?" We didn't know what to tell them because we'd seen some spooky stuff at night. I remember leaving one day. It was about this time of year. It had just snowed. I was the last one off the job. It was about 8 o'clock at night, and I looked back. The moon was behind the building. I could see my footprints leading out. I thought, "Oh, that's kind of cool. I kind of feel good about that." I went to throw some garbage into the bin, but my locks were frozen. I couldn't get the locks out, so I just left the garbage beside it and left for the night. I came back the next day, and I thought it was the coolest thing. It hadn't snowed. First thing in the morning, and I saw it was my single footprints walking out of the driveway, so I kind of traced my steps back in. It's like, I should throw the garbage in and see if the locks are unfrozen. And no word of a lie, when I went to open the locks, they had been opened, had been spun, and were just sitting beside for some spooky reason. So I had to tell that story to the Gravenhurst Haunted Walking Tour, and anyway. So, I'd never been spooked on a job like that before. It was interesting. What else is good about the building? I guess the owner being part of a lumber company, he had his choice of the choosiest lumber. So when we got in there, I thought the joists ran this way, so we did all our material takes, we did all our counts, based on the fact that 12-foot lumber. And we got in there, and there was 28-foot lumber, fresh cut from original Canadian growth softwood. So I don't know if you've worked in construction before, I don't know if you've been on The Apprentice or the lowest man on the totem pole on the job, but when you have to pass up 28-foot lumber, 3 stories to get the job done, I can only imagine the hassle that they had. Oh, you'll have to excuse me, I'm getting the hook. It has been a pleasure sharing with you this evening. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take them over at the Frosty Pint while I calm my nerves. Thank you.